welcome back to Talking Fruit. So I'm Graham Ellis, I'm an investor, entrepreneur, run It's Fresh.
John, been at It's Fresh for nearly 3 years now.
This is our third podcast already, so we kicked off with what? Waste, supply chain, right?
We had waste and supply chain, and we did an overview of how the globe works in terms of Southern Hemisphere production into Northern Hemisphere markets and the seasonality of things.
Episode 2, we covered...
We went into grapes.
Mm-hmm.
We had a really good...
fantastic tasting, blind tasting on your part, excellent. Maybe we did the same today.
Managed to pull it out of the bag, yeah. But yeah, it was good, yes, because I think that, again, we're into berries today, and it's a global marketplace, very similar to grapes.
Exactly, so we're going to go into raspberries today, because you see obviously on the table in front of us, or not maybe obviously yet. As before, all these have been purchased from one particular supermarket. This isn't about the supermarket, we're not affiliated with them in any way. Any comments we make is all about the supply chain, and understanding fruit in general has nothing to do with their specific quality or how they handle things. Fantastic supplier, huge in the UK, just gives us a really good opportunity to see what's going on in the marketplace, right?
Great, yeah, great visibility. Tesco's are about 40% of the UK market, so anything they're doing will be replicated by the rest of the market, so they're a very good reference point.
Okay, fantastic. So today we picked raspberries, and I guess we are now mid-October, so this is kind of an important period, isn't it, where we're starting to switch in between supplies. We touched on this a little bit in one of our prior episodes.
We are, and I think for the British consumer, of which raspberries is very close to home, there's a lot of people who grow raspberries on canes in their gardens or try and do so, they'll really feel this one on a different level. When we're talking about grapes, it's something that comes from a supermarket, because you don't grow grapes in the UK. But with raspberries specifically, people have that sort of emotional connection to it. It's a very British thing. And our season, light levels are dropping. Obviously, it's getting a bit colder at night.
It is.
And within a month's time, the clocks will have changed, and it's going to feel very wintry here. So things are changing in the supermarket.
And I'm surprised. We're going to get into this in more detail, but we actually still have British raspberries. But in my mind, raspberries from Britain are a summer thing. But that's not the case, or...
I mean, Graham, you're absolutely right, but I think what this points to is the opportunity commercially to make money out of a crop if you can get your varietal selection right. And I think this conversation will probably adapt in that direction. Because
varieties again, just like last time.
It's all about variety, yeah.
Okay.
And if you can grow raspberries in the UK, and this is from Herefordshire, so we're not even talking about the south coast, which has higher light levels, but Herefordshire, then what this tells you is there's an opportunity to make some money for somebody.
And this is still outdoors? This isn't sort of in a lit greenhouse or something then? Or do we not know?
I'm going to put it out there that the company that's growing this they're an exceptional grower of berries. It's the Driscoll's company.
Driscoll's? Hold on, we should go there now. Driscoll's. I think I remember, I used to live in the United States. I think that was the only brand I ever saw inside a supermarket. Everyone else just like raspberries, but it would always say like Driscoll's as a brand. So these guys are huge, right?
Global domination, Graham.
So the great vampire squid, like Goldman Sachs, of the raspberry world, but probably in a better way.
Yeah, I'd say they probably have that same global coverage. They're in every single market. They've got 4 business units around the world, so they cover everything you can possibly imagine. They've got a new business unit out in the Far East. They've got one in the Middle East, one in Europe, and the UK. So they are the world leader. And the US, they are a reference point for global berry production and varietal propagation.
So how did they get so big? What's their secret?
Well, they're 100 years old.
Okay.
So they've been around, over 100. They've been around since 1870. So that gives you an idea. Nearly, 150 years coming up on the anniversary.
That's a fair crack.
And where they are based in the States is probably one of the best climates in the world. So we're talking, sort of Salinas area.
California, right?
California, Southern California. And they, obviously American market being exceptionally big, they mastered the art of growing berries and getting berries to a consumer market. So they shipped all over the States.
Yeah.
And I guess if you can ship all over the States, which could be in an aeroplane, east, west coast, 6, 7, 8 hours.
3,000 miles or whatever.
Then you can ship anywhere in the world. So I think they start with that mindset.
Are they not famous for varieties too?
Yes.
They're like you called them breeders before, I think, didn't you, in the grape episode? So are they breeders or genetics people for raspberries?
And another good question, and I think if you look at a supply chain in terms of being vertically integrated, something like berries, where your mission is to get the best berries into households all over the world.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you've got a pipeline of great varieties coming through to support what's happening with your sales up front. Because like anything in the world of fruit, all genetics start to degrade over time. So they all have to think about the future.
Do the genetics degrade, or does our taste change? I mean, is it that do we want like bigger ones, sweeter ones, or what's actually going on here, do you think?
Well, I think every berry has a slightly different palate preference, and if you were to ask people about raspberries, they have a very different outlook against strawberries or blueberries. What they want with raspberries is a sort of a tartness with an aroma, some sort of slightly perfumed overtones. They want something that's like that. However, I don't think that's necessarily why the breeding programs work. I think good raspberries are good raspberries, tick.
Okay.
But I think it's about making sure that they can fill the gaps in the different climates to hit the different markets with full availability.
So we've got the availability thing.
Absolutely.
So we've got still UK raspberries, which is interesting, but we must be on the edge here because I'm seeing Morocco and Spain, which is pretty much what you tried to tell us the last time. Although I would have thought you said Portugal, Spain, Morocco. I see no Portugal. Why is that?
Well, actually, when we were looking at the grapes the other week, there was Portuguese raspberries everywhere. So
really?
I will make the assumption, because there's nothing on shelf today, that there's a gap in supply.
Okay.
And we've got this lovely premium Driscoll's variety, which is Reina.
Okay.
You can see that's a protected variety. There's an R, which means it's a brand,
Fair enough,
registered trademark. They've got these from the UK.
Yeah.
Let's open those up, have a quick smell of those, and we'll do a little taste test as well.
Okay.
Let's get that opened up. And the date code on that is the 17th of October, so we're on Monday the 15th.
All these are the 17th, so that's great. So we don't have any old raspberries, they should all be perfect. Well, let's take a look. These look quite big as well to
Have a
me.
smell.
I don't know if the camera can pick that up. They're all quite similar in colour to my eye, at least, John. I don't know about yours.
Well, and then, I think it's relative to what we've now got here. So,
hold on. This the first Moroccan ones?
So this is, these are all from Morocco. This variety is Simona. It's not a Driscoll's variety.
Let's have a look. Open it up again, because I've noticed, I'm learning off our grape discussion, these are a lot smaller than these, actually. Is that part of the, or is it just how they're harvested? What's going on?
Absolutely. Well, I think going along, we had a discussion around good, better, best tiering.
Oh yeah.
This is.
What's the price before we taste them?
Okay.
Each of these?
Well, price per pack.
Well, you're talking,
I'll give you price per
eat, 'cause I
pack.
love raspberries.
These were £2.90.
Okay.
Okay. But bear in mind, this is a 250 gram pack,
Oh, God, they're beautiful.
and these are £1.90, but they're a
Well done,
150 gram pack. So in terms of price per kilo,
£2.90, £1.90.
yeah, this is around £10.60 for 200 per kilo.
Yeah.
This is around £11.60. So this is probably, I'd say just over 10% more expensive, but it's a smaller pack. But-
So in essence, one of like a supermarket classic response, make something smaller until somebody can afford it.
Yeah.
Which leads us to this guy.
You get less good value, which is actually a very good point. So this is Noella. This isn't a particularly well-known variety, but it fits into what we call the standard tier, or good, better, best is the category marketeers will tell you.
It's good. Better, best.
It's good enough. But let's peel it back. And let's have a look. We've got, oh my word, look at that. Check.
This is okay. This is going to be written here, but this is out of the good. Can you see the colour on that and what's happened to the shape of that? And here's another one, white. Yeah, bits of green. Okay, so this is my category here. And these don't actually look very appealing. Actually, some of them do. Let's be fair. I'll try that one.
That's good. It's probably a bit of a mixed bag, isn't it? You're within the specification, they will allow a certain tolerance.
I think my face is telling it here, but that's quite tart actually. I picked up a redder one in the hope it would be nice and juicy. Are we making patterns? So I do like
I'm lining them up like a break on snooker.
Well, I'll just do a face then, if that's what we do. We've got small ones here. You've got a few white ones there as well. That's from Morocco, yeah?
You can see these from Morocco, yeah.
Well, where were these from?
And those are also those are from Spain.
Spain, okay. So it's not that the Spanish grow these normally. They can do perfectly good ones, I'm sure. So
Absolutely.
This must be early season? Not so good season? What's going on here?
Well, I think probably what you have there is a product sold and bought on a price to fit the pricing mechanics of this range.
Oh, and
So
you talked last time
Yeah.
about sometimes how instead of writing cheap and cheerful on the pack, they will kind of put a brand with some sort of farm name on, and it's exactly what we see here. I'm not going to read it out because it's a perfectly legitimate thing to do, but it's their way of showing that this is a good value product.
Yeah, and I think there's also you of course recall this, but there's also been a lot on the media about wonky veg and allowing farmers to sell more of what they grow. So this specification here, which I'm only going to say is grumpier looking, it might not be.
It's quite tough.
It is quite tight.
I was actually going to ask you, if we line these up in sweetness, it's actually sweet.
Yeah.
Less sweet, tart.
And tart, yeah.
So that's something
really
we call,
good
is it
observation.
called bricks?
Yeah, it's bricks.
What does that mean?
Sugar. It measures the amount of sugar in the as a percentage in the fluid.
And so is bricks a measure of quality, or is that just taste? You prefer maybe a sweeter one, I prefer a less sweet one.
I say it's an industry reference point for understanding what the sugar levels are, which then converts to in terms of consumer preference. Do I go for a one that suits my preference more? Most people have a sweet tooth. I prefer that. These aren't bad, but I would much prefer these to those.
Okay, so I bet this is going to be a dead easy one, but all right, you can. We'll do the same blind test as before. I bet I can get these right then.
Yeah.
So okay, I'll hold up my hand. I'll tell you whether it was the English, the Moroccan, or the Spanish. Let's go.
Okay.
You're going to make it hard for me, aren't you, by picking out like the very best. Okay, so Spanish. That's extremely tart.
That is correct.
Okay. Delicious, balanced. I think that's the middle one. What was that? That was the Moroccan, I think.
Yeah, Moroccan Simona variety. I mean, it's obviously by process of deduction.
Then we've got my treat.
But I think it's really clear though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually fascinating because I thought a raspberry was a raspberry again before joining this company, and it's not. And I guess it must be pretty tough to keep quality up. We can see that. So this one is travelling from Spain. So why is it white, John? Are they harvested it early in order to get it up here? What are they doing?
Well, referring back to the point I made earlier, when you consider growing your own raspberries in the garden in England, if you've seen that, it's quite a common sight. You can grow them on your balcony, even if you live in an urban area. They're very easy to grow. But what you'll notice is when they're immature, just because raspberries come from a flower, so when the flower gets pollinated, it has to be pollinated by a pollinating insect. Could be a bee, could be a ladybird, but something's going to come in there and it's going to do the pollination for it. And then the flower will grow, and then from the flower you're going to get some fruiting. And what you'll find as the fruit grows very gently on the plug, there's a little set of flowers that come off. It's called a raspberry cane, but it's a bush.
Yeah.
And it'll start very, very pale indeed. So these are super immature, and they've just begun their journey, versus something like this at the other end of the scale, which you can see much bigger, much redder, much more sugar, much plumper, probably a better eating
But these, of
experience.
course, only came from 100 miles away. So, we can harvest them later, and we can be pretty certain they're going to be in great condition when they're out of the shops. Here, they've got a much bigger risk unless they can look after them well, using things like RYPEN, but let's not put in too many plugs.
That's right, so it's tactical. I mean, if these are produced in the south of Morocco, they've got to travel possibly for 7-8 days, and in that time, they will change colour. They're a fruit that is, we call it climateric, which means they can get riper after they've been picked.
We're going to cover climateric, non-climateric, in a future episode. So we're going to try and round this up a little bit. So what have we seen today? It's mid-October. We've got a wide variety available. Some amazing, some medium, some tarts that I like. It strikes me this Moroccan is the bargain of the week, though, right? It's a slightly big one. It doesn't cost that much more than the punnet, which is much smaller.
Yeah.
Yet the quality is pretty damn good. Would you agree with that?
I think so. And if we looked at it as a price per kilo, actually this is more expensive price per kilo than this because of the sizing.
Oh.
But it's a lower price per pack, which means it hits a certain price point. This comes in at under £2. I think we all feel comfortable anything under £2. Anything over £2, we have this sort of
We have to have a reason.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I've learned quite a lot as usual. Different sugar levels, different varieties, different places they come from. It's a
Yeah.
great place for raspberries.
And different specification. This one's probably using a lot more of the crop, whereas this one is being extremely
Screened out.
selected and screened out. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I think fantastic. Always enjoy chatting to you about this stuff. And what are we going to move on to next week? I think we should probably do another fruit, right?
Yeah. Maybe it's time to bring out the avocado grown.
Perfect. Okay, well, I think that's it for the world of raspberries today.
Fantastic.
Speak soon.
Cheers.